Alrighty, it's time for Comments X. It's Wednesday, February 8th, and it's 10 p.m. That's great. You watch my day slowly start to drift around the clock. First it's 6 a.m., then it's 10 a.m., and now it's 10 p.m. So, yesterday was pretty interesting, I would say. Although I didn't really, the one thing I did yesterday that I paid primarily attention to was video editing. I started learning how to do how to separate the audio track from the video track, and then how to sync up different voices and different sounds to the actual action going on the screen. That's what I'm working on now. The next thing I want to do is I want to get into graphic overlays. This is particularly for titling and for if you want to insert graphics inside of a video. Like normally, if you're writing a paper, you put it in a table, or you put it in a picture, or you put it in some form of graphic, and you can have a caption underneath it. This is sort of the equivalent that I'm trying to do, is that as the video is being presented, you talk about a particular graphic or particular thing. You can either bring up the table, you can bring up the graph, you can bring up the graphic, whatever it is, and have a little caption underneath it so that you can, you can see what it is and you can see what I'm talking about. It's it's a reference to what's being talked about. So that's the primary purpose behind the graphic overlay, is again trying to get video production as close to essay and paper writing as I possibly can. That's the whole entire goal here. It's kind of fun though, because I'm looking at a lot of the kids stuff that have done the work. I've looked at some of the more, I found this one cartoon as I just sort of strolling around that's 3D and it's not put together by any particular company. And I found a lot of the software that I can put it's three-dimensional animation. And I found a software app in open source that can help you do that, actually. It can't help you do the voices, but it can help you do the animation. The voices, I've found applications to do voices, and this is something I'm still looking to, but I'm really on the beginning edge of this, something known as Vocaloids. This is something that's very popular in Japan. Vocaloids is no one person; it's the computer that's singing or doing the script in terms of the voices for animation. And this is something interesting that I found really interesting, because it does go back to sound engineering. And I'm talking about real sound engineering, not fiddling with the knobs and so on and so forth. I'm talking about acoustical physics. Real sound engineering is acoustical physics. The type you see people do when they're fiddling with the knobs on the mixer, that's not sound engineering. That's sort of a lower version of it, because it really doesn't involve any acoustical physics whatsoever. So what I'm interested in is the acoustical physics, and so I'm up on that edge of sound engineering, not on the music production side of things. So I found this whole Vocaloids thing to be really interesting. But again, like everything in Linux, everything is in bits and pieces all over the place. And so you really got to find which pieces of software work well, isolate the bits and pieces, and start sort of stitching together a system that will work well. And again, it may sound like I have an enormous amount of that I'm doing this on a lot of different systems. I'm not. Just that Linux gives you an option to split your desktops into multiple virtual desktops, and I have 10 different virtual desktops on my desktop. So I have one for the Linux coding, which is the IDE, and now I'm going to do one for sound and sound engineering, it's the acoustical physics. I'm going to be doing one for graphics and graphics overlay, one for video editing. I have one just for browsing the web, strolling around. I have one for my notes. My notes are getting huge. I gotta have to sit down and reorganize my notes again soon. So it really allows me to sort of, when you have these multiple or virtual desktops, to really sort of organize the way you do your work. So you have, it's like having a computer being a building, as opposed to having one room with one desktop. You now have a building with multiple rooms in it. So that's the difference between a single desktop and a multiple desktop. Multiple desktops gives you multiple rooms to do things in. They can be isolated from each other, so whatever happens on the first desktop doesn't necessarily have to happen up on the second desktop. The other thing I'm going to be looking into is seeing how I can sort of extend that further by adding a virtual box. This is another way of doing virtual desktops, but this further isolates things. So there's a number of interesting paths you can go down, and for me, it's you basically have to play with it. There are tutorials out there you can take a look at and see, but none of them specifically say exactly what to do. So you always have to go down and practice and try out your own thing. But that again depends on the person, whether or not you want to sort of sit there or have the time to sit there and go through all the different things. If you want something that's right out of the box, you either take a course. Well, you take a course that shows you what to do, and then from there you buy a very expensive piece of software that does 3D animation, and another that does voice, and there's your video studio, or I should say even your animation studio. But that's not my forte. My forte is I don't mind sitting down and figuring things out. So I get for free what others prefer to pay for. There are some who try the pirateware route. I had done that once upon a time, using pirated software. There's a ton of different resources out there that you can get pirated software from. I don't think they'll ever be able to plug up all the holes. But every time you use pirate software, inevitably they will come with viruses that will knock out your whole system. And sometimes when you need to upgrade something, they don't always upgrade properly. There's basically as much of a fuss with pirateware as there is when you're trying to get Linux to work. So in terms of the bugs and the hassles, Linux is as easy to use as Windows is. It's just that you have to have more knowledge when you're dealing with Linux than you do with Windows, and particularly the bugs in their pirateware. Bugs in pirateware, there's not really much to do. So what you do is you make sure your stuff is backed up. You wipe out the hard drive and reinstall. That's primarily the sequence that you go through when you're dealing with Windows. With Linux, you sit down and you try to either if it's a real bug, you try to find a workaround for it, or if you can fix it, you can fix it. There are ways of fixing even bugs in Linux that really don't exist. That doesn't exist in Windows. So to each his own. Everyone chooses what they want to choose, and they're sort of happy with that, I hope. But anyways, I will be singing more today. I have I'm trying out a new video format that will allow me to render faster. I did that with helicopters. I did that with helicopters. I'm sorry, it's a snow day, something like that. Oh yeah, it's I'm snow sorry. She forgot to sort of put up, or was late putting up her Monday video for Right and Proper Ladies. When the video was put up, the audio was so low you could barely hear it. And what I did is I took it off, which was in the Flash video format, and then corrected the video, should I say corrected the audio, by increasing the gain and sort of what we call normalizing the sound, so it sounded like every other video, just like this video. You could hear the audio perfectly. And I uploaded it, I rendered it back to the Flash video format rather than going to an AVI or an H.264 MP4 format, which is a high quality format. Those, even for a small video, for a 5-minute video, it takes a half hour to do the rendering. Uploading is just as horrible. It's been an hour rendering and uploading. This took me all of maybe 10 minutes. So basically, if I can do the videos in the FLV format for YouTube, it will cut my uploading and rendering time from an hour down to about 15 minutes, which in terms of response time is a real bonus. It really does, it gives you a lot more time to do things. So that's what I'll be sort of trying to do today, seeing how the FLV format actually, how the quality, see how it works on YouTube, and if that's a solution, to the time problem, then that's what I will be doing from now on. Things will be in the FLV format, which I have no problems playing on Linux. So there's no, FLV plays as well on Linux as any of the formats. So there's no fundamental issue in terms of that format. Alrighty, so I'll see you in a bit as I comment later on through my day and your night, or if you're elsewhere in the world, it may be your day as well. So, later.